Gavin Mortimer says, and I quote, "The vast majority of Europeans don't want an end to all immigration. They recognise the benefits of it, but they do want controlled migration," end quote. Now, I don't know, I think he might be a bit on the naive side about how people feel about migration. But he did also go on to say that Europeans, be they Italians, Germans or Greeks, want to know that the people entering their country are who they say they are and that they have no evil intent. Now, Terry, how much of this right-wing resurgence is coming from the third world pouring into Europe via mass migration?
Well, look, I certainly think it is a factor. I think Gavin Mortimer's right. I don't think he is being naive. I think people do want controlled migration. They don't want an open door, open slather. But also, I think the risks of the people who are actually trying to get in that door, being as they are, they don't want to see that. They also want to see that there is stability, both socially and economically, in their countries. And I think people are starting to ask questions about, doing things for the sake of being seen to be doing the right thing, which is what Angela Merkel, I think, got wrong with her approach to mass pressures from refugee migration in 2015, 2016. I think people do want to see. They do want to see their governments actually standing up for, dare I say, sovereign borders. And that's something that I think is resonating now in a way that it hasn't resonated before. But I don't think that's the sole determinant of any shift to the right politically in Europe. I think those questions about social unrest, and you talked about the French riots, that I could say going back 40, 50 years that riots in France, well, that's what they do for a hobby, isn't it? But rip up streets and build barricades. That's their idea of engineering in Paris. But people get sick of that type of ongoing instability, that ongoing unrest, that ongoing sense that if you want to be a normal law-abiding person, that you're somehow abnormal. I think that's all changing too. And of course, in terms of other countries, we should mention Greece, where the mainstream centre-right party actually had a whopping win in the Greek elections a week ago.
Well, let's just say you're right, Terry, and Europe is moving to the right, or at least our centre-right, what we would call it. What does this mean for the European Union? Because the European Union has been a very left-wing organisation. It's tried to implement almost exclusively left-wing policies. It's come to a head with countries that have so far been right-wing, like Hungary and Poland. So what's it going to do when its leaders start becoming right-wing or centre-right?
I find it hard to believe that the leaders of the European Union will ever be anything but centre-left to hard left, because I think there's something about the European project, if you want to call it that actually makes the people who get in that bubble, want to go to the left, want to go into big government, want to go into big regulation, want to go into big control. And it's good that governments like those in Poland and Hungary have been fighting the good fight in terms of trying to pull that back. But since Brexit, whatever you say about Brexit, I think it's affected the European Union and the weight of the big countries, which used to include the UK, so Germany and France. If they are pushing themselves, if their political culture is going to the right, then that may well tip the balance more in a sensible direction as far as the European Union goes. But that sense of the United States of Europe being some holy grail goal of pan-Europeanists, I don't think that's going to go away in a hurry. But the reality is, when people are actually more worried about their cost of living, more worried about putting food on the table and paying power bills, this type of utopian idealism goes out the window. And I think some of those EU leaders have absolutely never learned that, or if they have learned it, they've forgotten it.
Well, if the EU shifts to the right, it's going to put a fair spanner in the works when it comes to their censorship policies, and I can't imagine that some of these things are going to be compatible if the countries rebel.